handling objections might be one of the most difficult topics in sales. There is one thing that you need to understand, and understand it properly. There are two kinds of objections: true objections and false objections, or excuses. The latter is not going to drive to a sale. It's going to be most probably a no sale, because there is no interest in your product and they are trying to avoid the communication with you. They want politely to escape the communication. And what you hear is an excuse and not a true objection. True objections, however, mean that there is a very high probability that your client is going to buy at the end your product. Because if he has many objections, if he's very negative on things that really matter of your pitch, that means there is interest. Even if he's negative, think on that. Even if he's very negative, there is interest because he's having an argument with you regarding your product or the service that you're selling. Now, how can you tell the difference between true objections and false objections or excuses? The first thing that you need to understand is do not take what the other person says on face value. What he says is not that important. It is way deeper to understand the real reasoning why he says something the moment that he says that. You need to understand, if you call to a company and you want to pitch your product, with whom you are talking. Who is the person that you are talking to? Is he the decision maker or not? How long has he been in the company? What is his position? What he's afraid of? There's a story that says no one was ever fired because he chose IBM. And the meaning of this story is that even if you pitch a very good product to an employee of a company, and even if he can see the value of your product, and you are not an established brand, he might choose the established brand because if your product proves to be a potato, he is going to take the blame. Of course, if he's the owner of the company, things change because he is the owner. There's no one to refer to. He takes the decisions regarding purely of his interest, but not the manager in a company, not the employee of a company. What is his cultural background? Does he have any prejudice against you, against your cultural background, against the ethnicity that you are from, against your accent? Maybe is he a racist? What time are you calling? Are you calling, for example, in Monday morning, where everybody's busy with meetings and one-to-ones and reports? Or maybe you are calling on Friday afternoon when people feel relaxed, they are anticipating the weekend, the pub, the beer. Are you calling after lunch or before lunch? An Israeli institute did a research and proved that conversations and negotiations prior to lunch were way more probably to be negative than after lunch. So maybe something that is not so significant in your eyes plays a major role. What is the tone of the voice of the other person? How does he sound? The time when you are calling, is he busy? Does he do some other thing? Is he maybe driving his car? Or maybe he's going to have a very important meeting in 5 minutes. Does he give canned answers? Does he try to be professional? If he does, that's not a good sign. Because if there is true interest, he's not going to think on civic courtesy and how he's going to be polite and give the proper answers. He's going to ask questions that matter, important questions. How will you be in the position to have a better understanding of what the other person says and differentiate if his objections are true objections or false objections? The most important factor is your life experience. If you met people from different paths of life, older people, younger people, rich and poor, men and women, from different cultures, different backgrounds, it does matter because you understand, you enrich your understanding of the human mind, the human psyche. I've noticed, as a Southern European, as a Greek, I noticed that people from Northern European countries, where they live in a society where institutions are functioning, they have more trust in what authorities and what other people say. And that is natural. In the south of Europe, you need more often to guess what somebody's saying. And if you go to the Middle East, then nothing is as it is said. Most probably it's the contrary, or it's something different. Try to see behind the lines. Don't take the face value of what you hear. As David Hume said, reason is and ought only to be the slave of the passions and can never pretend to any other office than to serve and obey them. In other words, humans ultimately act like animals, driven by passions, instincts, and feelings. Logic is only secondary, a tool, not a driver. My advice to have a more effective communication with somebody and decide if his objections are true objections or not are, first of all, break the pattern of the communication. Don't go on the standard communication that is running between two professionals. Go on the human side. Get a connection. Hear the other person. Understand. Create rapport. You set the tone of the conversation and the communication. Don't rush to say what you have to say. You are the driver of the conversation. Keep your tone calm. Be confident. Be undefensive. There is an old saying in sales. It says, when you hear no, that means reverse that. That means on. Go on. I agree with that saying till a degree. Be ready to accept the no if you feel that's a genuine no that comes from the other person. And if it is, close the conversation. Because if you continue, you're not selling anymore. You are begging. The most important factor, however, to understand if an objection is a true objection or a false objection is going to come by being confident and clear on what you are saying. This confidence is going to reflect the true colors, the true thoughts of the other person.